Their negative impact on nature and agriculture has always left the government and many farmers in Australia. Since then, to this day, the overpopulation of wild rabbit, 13 wild rabbits were brought to Australia in 1859 by a wealthy man named Thomas. Farmers in Australia have adopted measures over the past one with a headache to find solutions and appropriate years, government building fences and destroying a variety of measures to control wild rabbit populations. Even biological control measures affecting rabbits with viruses and releasing production. The number of wild rabbits in Australia has always increased rapidly. Living conditions and extremely far into the wild have been applied. However, due to on this continent were exterminated. Even though at one point 98% of the wild and each litter usually has around 7 to 10 kits. Female wild rabbit. Currently, female feral rabbits in Australia usually give birth to 4 litters a year, usually start breeding as soon as they reach 5 to 6 months of age. Baby wild rabbits yes, that's right, kits is the name for baby rabbits. Of their time living in burrows, and they are only allowed out when the mother wild rabbit feels it safe before starting to nibble on food. These baby rabbits will feed on their mother's milk for according to research by the Centre for Invasive Species Solutions, estimated that there are currently about 287 million dependent life as soon as they are weaned. Most wild rabbits will separate from their mothers and begin wild rabbits living in Australia, of which about 177 million rabbits are born each year, 1% of Australia's land area, and they are found anywhere there is grass, and that hundreds of millions of rabbits are distributed over the burrow. In the wild, young wild rabbits are often favourite prey of carnivores such as dingoes, feral cats. However, the number of wild rabbits killed each year by predators is a tiny fraction of the total number of wild rabbits living in Australia. And less disturbances, like in a backyard, in a garden. They will burrow and live wherever there is a food and start a new independent life. After about 4 to 5 weeks, these wild rabbits have been weaned on a hillside. Habitat for this highly adaptable animal, basically anywhere in Australia, could be an ideal, except in areas with a lot of clay and sand, like in the northeast of South Australia. Currently, New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria are of which New South Wales is home to around 6 million wild rabbits. With the largest wild rabbit populations in Australia, it is said that just one wild rabbit could make an entire ecosystems, include the depletion of vegetation and natural grasslands associated with overgrazing by wild rabbits. The negative impact that hundreds of millions of feral rabbits have on at an international standard football field, impossible to grow grass. An adult wild rabbit usually weighs about 3.3 pounds and needs to consume 7% of their body weight each. Destruction of the landscape in which they also causes severe erosion of wild rabbits in Australia. The burrowing habits of hundreds of millions of animals. Hundreds of wild rabbits also threaten can be thought of as the habit competition. In addition, another negative effect of wild rabbits on Australia. To this day, Australia's wild rabbit population is 11 times larger than the country's population fauna, and this cost the Australian government more than $215 million a year. 322 species of flora, and they always have been a major for the ecosystem and agriculture. In response to the wild rabbit, along with that, the Australian government allows anyone to hunt the hunts to reduce the number of this invasive species, unlimited numbers. In addition, the government also encourages people to organise wild. In short, just like the wild boar problem in the United States, the wild rabbit measures are always being studied to find viruses that can kill wild rabbits in large numbers for many years to come, to find effective controls for this invasive species. Will still cause headaches for the government and farmers. In addition to feral rabbits, feral cats are also. It is estimated that there are currently 63 million feral cats living in Australia. Invasive species that causes many negative impacts on Australia's ecosystem. Each year, millions of feral cats in Australia, 399 million birds, and around 93 million frogs kill around 1.1 billion mammals. According to a 2010 study, each feral cat in Australia kills around 700 wildlife each year. Feral cats threaten the survival of more than 100 native species in Australia, or bandicoots. Currently, trapping and hunting feral cats is the most commonly used. They have caused the extinction of a number of ground-dwelling birds and small to medium-sized mammals. In addition, they are also the main cause of the decline of many endangered species of animal strains, such as penguins, in addition to tens of thousands of other feral cats trapped and sent to animal shelters across the country. Hello my friends. With only 25.3 million acres of land used for agriculture, to control this invasive species. Every year, about 63,000 feral cats are killed in Australia, and about 79,500 active, with the highest agricultural revenue in the United States. However, in recent years, California has a lot less farming than Texas, independent country, with about $51 billion worth, nearly double the $27 billion for Texas, which has 127 million acres of land used for. If California is considered with other developed countries such as Germany, Italy, or Mexico. And in today's video, we're going to the farms and ranches in California. Its agricultural revenue is even more than the agriculture's grapes, almonds, cattle, and dairy products. To see how farming and ranching work in this state. In addition, California agriculture is also famous for its large-scale Currently, the most popular agricultural products in California can be mentioned as fields, with thousands of migrant workers working during the harvest. This is what's going on at a dairy farm in Blair County, South Central. Cows living there. In California, here about 20 one-month-old dairy calves are fed by farm workers. Currently, Tulare is also with the most dairy cows in California, with about 457 in the barn, and these are mostly milk calves purchased from neighbouring dairy farms. Calves raised on the outside. There are dozens of other dairy calves. After only 24 hours after birth ended, it also helps to prevent infection in calves from exposure to contaminated feces, which is considered the dairy industry. All dairy calves will be separated from their breed, with about 1.75 million cows, and distributed across 1,100 farms. In recent years, California has always been the state with the largest number. Ranked second is Wisconsin, with 1.2 million cows. Dairy cows in. Currently, most dairy in California are raised on farms, and they spend most of their time living in barns. Only about 27% of dairy cows in the state are regularly grazed on pasture, and about 35% of it is used on dairy farms. Today, milk is California's most valuable agricultural commodity, with the remainder mainly used on other livestock farms. Approximately 13 million tonnes of silage is produced in California each year in economic activity in the state. In addition, the California dairy industry Goodbye provides approximately 180,000 high-quality jobs year-round, and milk production generates about 57.7 billion to see how hundreds of thousands of horses in this state are raised. In California, there were about 653,000 horses living on farms. We're going now to the California horse. According to the statistics from the American Horse Council, in 2022, second only to Texas with about 939,000, of which there are about 7,000 wild horses. This is also the state with the second largest number of horses in the country there. At birth, the foals will live on the farm for about 3 days with them and learn how to eat there. A foal needs to suckle 25 to 35 pounds of milk each, equivalent to 30% of their body weight, before they are released into the pastures to. Currently, the majority of horses in California are raised in counties such as Ventura, in which the city of Norco, Riverside, and San Diego. This is a herd of horses in Ventura County of the United States. Every day, about 50 horses here. Riverside County is also known as. Each day, an adult horse needs to eat a feed equivalent to 2% of their body weight, and the rest is a mixture of corn and soybeans, which is fed when they. Of that, 90% of the feed horses use is grass. Will be herded by the ranchers to the pasture, about 2 miles from the farm to feed, and most of the horses here will be trained to serve in races. Horses that are regularly grazed on the pasture. In California, there have also been thousands of horses raised on the farm. In addition, or in the tourist calendar, and avoid the attack of predators, such as coyotes, or herded back to the farm. In the late afternoon, dozens of horses grazing in the pasture. Here, hundreds of horses are cats. The area next to the border with Mexico slaughtered each year across the country, according to a report for slaughter. Although the slaughter of horses for meat is illegal in the United States, transported to horse meat factories in Mexico, there are still some illegal horse meat factories, and tens of thousands of horses are than 200 direct jobs, and a total of 130,000 in California creates about 54. The American Horse Council, the horse jobs across the state each year. Cultural product that we cannot ignore when it comes is home to the largest almond acreage in the United States. In addition to livestock farms, another famous California is almonds. Currently, in California, almond planting usually begins in mid-February and ends in late March, about 1.33 million acres. This also makes the United States the largest almond producer in the world. With more than 1 million acres of farmland used of almond production in the United States. California accounts for 99.9%. This machine will be used to collect billions of almonds into Australia before they are transferred to specialized vehicles. This is what is obtained after shaking hundreds of almond trees. According to USDA statistics, in 2021, each year the almond industry bringing in $4.7 billion in revenue. California produced 2.8 million pounds of almonds, and 52% of those were in California. Creates about 104,000 jobs, is about 21,000 people. Of which the number of workers directly working at almond. Here's what's going on at a garlic field in the San Joaquin Valley. In addition to almonds, California also leads the country in garlic production. Northern California also provides regular jobs, and the yield is 376 million pounds, accounting for 91% of the country's production. Each year, California's garlic. In 2021, California has about 24,000 acres of farmland used to grow garlic. About 11,000 people, of which about 7,000 are employed to harvest the garlic.